Once again, thank you so much for joining us today at Geo-Ruckus stirring up spatial solutions for our April webcast. Today we are here presenting Gina's personal journey entitled From Zero to GIS Hero. And so Gina is a dynamic and driven geospatial professional who work spans everything from limited uh, climatology to cutting edge web tool development. Gina is currently pursuing her MS in Geographic Information Science at the University of Denver, where she also serves as a graduate teaching assistant. Her passion for coding physical geography and analysis shines through in every project she takes on. Originally from Virginia Tech, where she graduated summa cum laude with a degree in geography and minors in meteorology and GIS, Gina has already made an impact in both academic and professional spaces. Over the past few years, Gina has interned with Esri, helped build a fully functional GIS web tool at CHS Support, and even co-authored a publication in Nature's Communications, Earth and Environmental, and I'm sorry, my screen. The role of AI in enhancing climate literacy, whether she's leading lectures on sustainability or creating tutorials for advanced GIS workflows, Gina brings energy, insight, and a sincere commitment to making geospatial science more accessible and impactful. She's here today to share part of her journey and the lessons she's picked up along the way. Let's give a warm welcome to Gina.
Thank you so much for that. I'm really
Absolutely.
excited to be here. Um, okay. All right. I hope you can see my screen.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. This is going to be a little bit of my personal journey and a little bit of advice about things that I've learned along the way and how I went from a zero to a GIS hero. So, I'm going to talk about the stress of GIS, getting into ruts and moments of no motivation, and how to be a confident GIS professional. And my goal through this presentation is to help inspire and motivate you no matter how many years that you've been in the field. So I'll first talk about life as a GIS zero and the stress of GIS that I took on. Then I'll talk about how I explored the pathways of GIS and geography, how I got involved in the hiccups that I had along the way, and the so-called magic equation to becoming a GIS hero. Then I'll talk about how to get out of a GIS rut and wrap it up with a conclusion. So, from pretty much the beginning of my life, I knew that I wanted to go to Virginia Tech for school. My brother went to Virginia Tech, and my family friends went to Virginia Tech. So, I was very much set on that school. And just as much as I was set on Virginia Tech, I was also set on doing meteorology. As early as preschool, I would force my parents to videotape me as I gave broadcasts to them through the week. And my passion for meteorology just grew and grew. And eventually, I was in high school and I was able to apply to the meteorology program at Virginia Tech, and I got in. But unfortunately, as soon as I started that program, something just didn't feel right. It's very structured because it's a regulated program no matter where you go to school. And so I wasn't able to explore different things. So I ended up switching to geography and minoring in GIS and meteorology. But as soon as you get into GIS and geography, you have all of these big names surrounding you, like John Nelson and Ken Fields, who are some of the most popular cartography resources for new and learning cartographers. And as I was learning about who they were, I was just thinking to myself, how am I supposed to compete with them when this is the first map that I've ever made? I mean, it's awful. And then I was learning about Waldo Tobler, who created the first law of geography. And as I studied him, I thought to myself, I failed my geography exam in middle school social studies, so how am I supposed to be as smart as he is? And then you have inventive people like Cynthia Brewer, the creator of Color Brewer, and of course, Jack Dangermond, who is arguably the most successful GIS person out there. And seeing all of these big names in the field can be overwhelming, and it can make you go down a spiral of feeling like you don't know enough and that there's not enough time to be as successful as all of these people. And then when you're in academics, you can feel the same way because of the people that you're interacting with and learning from. So I had professors like Dr. Kennedy and Dr. Kim, also Dr. Shao and Stuart Scales. Dr. Kim published 10 papers in 2024, and he's only recently become a professor. So it was amazing learning from these established professors and knowledgeable professors, but it's intense because they know so much. And my advisor now at the University of Denver is also insanely smart. I mean, I came to DU not really knowing what I wanted to do for my capstone, and now I've figured out that I'm going to do machine learning and wildfires, but I didn't know what machine learning or AI really was before I came here. And my advisor is teaching me that herself, which I find really admirable and impressive. So it's really easy to get imposter syndrome because these professors have so much knowledge. And so the more you talk to them, the more you realize they know more than you could have imagined. And then when you're in that professional field, the same thing occurs. I had two extremely smart supervisors when I was interning at Esri, and I had very, very smart supervisors at EHS support as well. And Austin here is one of the smartest people I know. He's a geologist, and he was asking me for advice as the GIS intern. And I just didn't feel qualified for that. But eventually, I started really exploring the pathways of geography and GIS. And I first started this through academic research at Virginia Tech. So during my early years, I took a physical geography class with Dr. Kennedy, and I realized that that really ignited my passion for physical geography. So I emailed her after the class ended, asking if she had any research opportunities. And she immediately took me in, even though I had no experience or knowledge of academic research, and I really didn't even know what that meant. But here I am on my first research trip, and these pictures are taken with a drone that flew above a pine savanna for data gathering. And this is very corny, but as I watched that drone soar above the trees, I realized that my passion for geography was also soaring, and it felt like this was really where I was meant to be. And then all of the sudden, I was doing real research in a real lab with real scientists and other graduate students. And I never imagined that I would be doing chemistry and stable isotope analysis as just a little undergrad geographer that didn't really know anything about geography. But everything that I ended up getting involved in allowed me to have even more opportunities to be involved in and further explore the field. So I was able to present an award to my academic advisor at a banquet of over 200 people. And I also got awards at that banquet for things I was involved in. And through these opportunities, I became an ambassador for my college within Virginia Tech. And all of this required a lot of public speaking, which was really beneficial to me because this is where I learned that I like public speaking and I like geography. So now I had a newfound purpose of working towards becoming a professor. And then in the real world, I found myself getting excited about nerdy things. So as I saw lichens, I was excited because I knew that I could tell the air quality from them. And on my favorite hike, I was always excited to get to the top because I knew there would be a benchmark there. And then as my brother was in Texas getting ready to be married and I was flying in from Virginia, of course I was excited to see my brother be married, but I was equally as excited to fly to Texas because I knew for the first time I would see irrigation circles in real life. And so from all of this, I ended up doing three research projects in my undergrad. The first one was using paleoclimatology and paleoecology to find the past vegetation of an endemic area while using bat guano as proxy data. And then my second project used R and change matrices in ArcGIS Pro to find out how rising sea levels affected coastal areas. And my third one partnered with a PhD student to test ChatGPT's climate literacy on all countries of the world. And surprisingly, my research with ChatGPT got published in Nature Communications, Earth and Environment before I had even finished my master's degree. So after I graduated from Virginia Tech, I felt really satisfied with what I had done, but I also felt confused because I liked geography, I didn't really like GIS, and I still liked meteorology. And I thought about all of those years before I got to college where I was so passionate about meteorology. So I decided instead of going to grad school for geography, I would try meteorology again. So I ended up applying to a grad school for an atmospheric science program. And as I waited for that school to start, I did an internship with Esri. This was an absolutely amazing experience for me. I did my first hackathon. I met Jack Dangerman himself and other young GIS professionals, and I was able to go to the Esri UC. And this internship is what showed me all of the capabilities of GIS. And it was truly so much more than I could have imagined. I thought it was amazing and so cool and satisfying to be involved in something that I knew was helping people and helping the environment and contributing to research. And so this internship and experience is really what sparked my true passion and interest in GIS. But I realized that I wasn't quite ready to enter the working world yet. This was my first internship, so having an 8 to 5 every day was a bit of a culture shock compared to having flexible classes. And I realized that I really liked to learn, so I was ready to go back to school. Unfortunately, 5 days before I relocated for my master's program, I realized that I really, really liked GIS a lot more than I realized when I was doing my internship. And even though I was able to do cool things at this grad school, like do presentations on how to visualize data on NOAA Science on a Sphere, the program just didn't feel right to me because there wasn't a GIS component. So I ended up leaving before I got admission offers back from other schools and GIS and geography programs. And then summer was here again, and I did my internship with EHS support, which was an absolutely amazing opportunity. I was able to be interviewed about my experience and create an ArcGIS story map about being the first geospatial intern at EHS support. And after that internship ended, I started my career as an MSGIS student at the University of Denver. I got involved in the graduate student government and fell in love with all of the grad students in my program. And honestly, I've been here for a little less than a year, but I'm learning so much. I've taken classes in GIS project management and Python, geographical statistics, GIS database design, and I have so many more classes to take in the future that's really sparking even more passion for GIS than I realized I had in the first place. So this brings me to the so-called magic equation of how to become a GIS hero. I've been doing GIS for over 4 years now, and I still get moments of stress from not feeling like I've done enough or that I'm not successful enough. And I have moments where I second guess if the subfield of geography and GIS that I'm in is the one that's really right for me. But I found that following this equation I created really helps me be more confident in myself and discover more of what GIS has to offer. So the first thing is GIS in academics or GIS in the professional world, if that's what you're in. This, I feel, is the baseline knowledge that you get in the baseline skills. So for example, these are some of the required courses I have for my current program. So this is what I know that I will graduate with skill-wise. But there are also invisible opportunities, especially in academics. So when I was an undergrad, I knew that there was a professor called Dr. Shao. I had never met him, but I knew that he had specialties that I had no idea what they really entailed. So I decided to email him asking if I could do research under him, and he ended up saying yes. And this was really cool because he wasn't advertising research. So if I hadn't emailed him, I would have never been able to do this specific project. And I was able to present it at a conference and get a fellowship from it. So it was very beneficial to me. So I think it's really important to just shoot your shot and ask for things because you can be surprised with how far that can get you, no matter the situation that you're in. Something else that I think is really beneficial is engaging in free GIS. There are so many external GIS materials out there, but this one right here is the Esri Tutorial Gallery, and it is free, but it is extremely high quality, and there are a really wide range of topics that you can learn from. And using these tutorials is actually how I sold myself for my internship at EHS support. So all of the skills needed for that internship were things that I learned through these tutorials. And that was a really big confidence booster because this was the first time I was ever qualified for something based on things that I did for myself instead of that baseline knowledge from a previous internship or previous academic classes. Something else you can do is just use YouTube. So for example, I looked up how to use QGIS and this really in-depth video came up. And you can also look up specific GIS people. For example, John Nelson again makes amazing maps. And I used that YouTube video on the bottom left to create that map on the bottom right. And it was really fun. I wouldn't call myself a cartographer in any sense of the word. I'm pretty bad at it, but His videos are digestible and they're entertaining and engaging, and he actually gave me the hobby of cartography, so I like to do that in my own time. Another thing that I would recommend is using LinkedIn Learning. So LinkedIn Learning does require money, but you can get a free trial. And that's how I got all of these certifications here. And they have a really wide array of GIS that you can learn from. So I found things for different software and also was able to brush up on my coding, which was helpful. And something really unique was that I took a course on InfraWorks and also AutoCAD. And that was very beneficial to me because I've never used InfraWorks or AutoCAD in class or an internship before. So those skills I have in that are specifically from LinkedIn Learning. Something else you can do is simply just Google free GIS course or free GIS tutorial, and a bunch of schools are going to pop up. For example, UMass has a GIS hub, and UC Davis ended up partnering up with Coursera to create a GIS course for free. And there are so many other schools that will come up in the Google results, but these are just a couple examples. So this brings me to talk about how to get out of a GIS rut. We know that GIS and geography can be really broad, which is great because it allows you to explore a lot of things. But sometimes this can lead us down rabbit holes of hyperspecializations. And for me, at least, that can lead me to have burnout or just plain boredom in the subject. So to combat this, again, I think free GIS is extremely helpful. Specifically, I want to mention the Esri training page here. And more specifically, I want to talk about their MOOCs. That's MOOC. It stands for Massive Open Online Course. They're always free. They always give you temporary access to the software required, and they're around 4 to 6 weeks long. And they can take you from being total beginner to novice or even proficient in a subject. And I found that they're really great for low stakes exploration of a subject. They also have really helpful web courses, labs, and videos on the Esri training page, but these may or may not be free depending on which one you choose. This is a map that I learned how to make from the cartography MOOC, and I thought that it was a really amazing experience because I use GIS every day for school and work, but it's also a hobby. And like I said, I'm not good at cartography and it doesn't really apply to what I do with my research. So I don't get to use it in my day-to-day life. So this MOOC was really fun for me and it allowed me to increase my passion for GIS by exploring something new within GIS. Another cool thing is that, again, John Nelson was one of the teachers for this MOOC, and all of the teachers of the MOOCs are extremely positive. For example, here I posted some of the maps I made from that MOOC on LinkedIn, and John Nelson commented on it, which was obviously a really nice feeling. Something else that's incredibly important to be involved in is your GIS community, and there are so many to choose from. There's Esri Community, which gives you blogs for products and services and incoming technology. The AAG, which is the American Association of Geographers, has multiple subgroups you can be involved in. And Reddit is another great resource. Oftentimes, when I'm having an issue in ArcGIS Pro, for example, and I Google how to fix it, the Reddit page comes up with the answer already there, so I quite enjoy that. And then there are some more GIS communities. These ones are on LinkedIn, but some of them also have their own website. There's Esri YPN, which I really like because it helps you discover new subfields. So you can ask for guidance on issues or opinions on paths forward with something. And it's also just plain cool to see what other people are doing. There's the Euriza Mentoring Network, where you can either volunteer to be a mentor or a mentee. And I was a mentee last year, and I found it incredibly helpful. It made me feel much more confident in being an emerging GIS professional since I am graduating in about a year. Gamma Theta Upsilon, the International Geographic Honor Society, is really helpful for professional development. And Going Places with Spatial Analysis is actually a privately listed LinkedIn group from a MOOC. So every time you're involved in a MOOC with Esri, you can be added to a LinkedIn group so that it doesn't feel like you're alone when you're taking the class because all of the other students are in there too that you can talk to. And real quick, I just want to give some more detail on Esri community because I really enjoy it and benefit from it a lot. So it's defined as a global community of Esri users where you can find solutions, share ideas, and collaborate to solve problems with GIS. And it's a really great area to connect and learn from people. You can ask questions and answer questions and collaborate with professionals that you would have otherwise not known existed unless you were in this community. And likewise, I want to talk a little bit more about Esri Young Professionals Network or Esri YPN because I also think that one is a really great resource. So it's not just for young people or new professionals, but it is made to benefit those people. So defined by Esri, it's made to benefit those just starting their GIS journey or experienced professionals new to the field. You can learn more about the power of location technology, connect with like-minded peers and industry experts, and gain leadership experience that can advance your career. And something else I really enjoy about Esri YPN is their ambassador program. So they have 3 different types of ambassador badges you can collect, and they all have different requirements. I'm personally a community ambassador and content ambassador, and I found it to be a really great experience because not only are you helping the GIS community, but this helps you get more involved in it and meet more people. And I'm mentioning this not because I'm required to by being an ambassador, but because I think it's just a very, very important thing to be involved in. And speaking of Esri Community and Esri YPN, I was asked to publish a blog in Esri Community for Esri YPN on this subject. So if you'd like a written copy of this presentation, it's out there. And I think most importantly, out of GIS communities, it's very healthy and good to have a community of GIS folks where you don't just talk about GIS. So, for example, in my grad department, we don't just have classes together and talk about our research. We go to museums and dance. We have brunches, pasta nights, and picnics. We do winter sports and have trivia nights with professors. And we have cultural parties. And it's important to catch up with your old GIS friends too. So this picture was taken from me and some other interns at Esri a couple years ago. And then this summer, I was able to meet up with one of those interns again in Philadelphia. And it was really nice to just catch up over dinner. And not only does that help you with your networking, but it's nice to have fun and see what those people are up to. And if this isn't feasible because you're a majority online community, I would recommend creating channels in your team's network. So, for example, Esri had a channel for cars and one for running, also weather and parenting, and that seemed to be really beneficial for the full-time employees there to create a sense of community. And before I wrap things up, I am only a master's student. I haven't had a real full-time job before. So I wanted to share my own advice, but I also wanted to get some advice from established professionals in the field. So I have 2 short videos to share about that. And please let me know if you cannot hear this.
Oh yeah, of course. I feel overwhelmed by such a high quality environment. There are so many clever people outside in the world, right? And it is, I think it is okay to feel the overwhelm. It is a natural thing. But the thing is, if you realize that it is a natural thing, then it is okay. You just let it go, right? And then, there might be also the thing that you can do better than other people, right? I believe that everyone has their own talent. Yeah. Calling, right? Yeah, there is a big word, right? Yeah, you definitely need to edit this video, right? Yeah, because yeah. So for me, I do not start my career as a geographer or GIS scientist. I started as an urban planner. But when I was when I was a child, right, I really liked transportation, public transportation, like airplane, trains, or something. Yeah, so I like some kind of transportation. And then when I went to college, I learned that, urban planning and engineering is the field that is related to transportation. So I enjoyed learning about it. But I accidentally take, the GIS class at my senior year, and like coincidentally take the GIS classes. And then somehow, I don't know, I really like the GIS analysis, mapping, and then that kind of the spatial analysis. So that's why I, keep working on it. But still, my master degree is also the urban planning. I did not go to the geography department. But when I studied my master program there, I met my previous doctoral advisors at the time. And then I took her class, and I was fascinated by the power of GIS in understanding transportation and urban planning issues. So that's why I want, I want to learn more about GIS, and that's why I moved to the geography department. that is the question that I want to ask to other people, who is more expert in the field, right? Yeah, but, if I'm humble to answer that question, my, philosophy, personal philosophy is, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, perseverance. Am I pronouncing correctly? Perseverance. Right, yeah, so just keep trying, right? Yeah, there are so many obstacles, like new technology or like funding or all that kind of thing. It's just like, in the end of the day, I believe those who keep pursuing at the end of the day, like continuously, right, will be the winner, right? So that is what I try to tell to myself. Yeah, I think, I'm not qualified. Honestly, I'm not qualified to tell others, oh, you should this. This is a skip recipe. If I already know about that, I would already successful, right? At this age, right? But I'm not, right? I'm still, a young scholar, right? So that is something that, I hope to get the answer from the other experts who will see this video.
So I found this interview with Dr. Kim to be really beneficial for me. He's the one that published 10 articles in 2024, and I've always viewed him as an extremely smart and established and successful professor. But I found through this interview that it's hard for even these people that I find to be the most successful people in my community to say that they have a calling or define what their calling specifically is. And I think that's important to note because society pressures us to know what our calling is before undergrad because we have to pick our major before we're even in college. And it's okay not to know what your calling is. And it's okay not to know what subfield you want to be in, even if you know that you do want to be in geography or GIS. And this doesn't matter how long you've been in the community. It could be 5 years, it could be 1 year. It's okay to change things and explore things. And being patient and taking that time to explore, I think is appropriate no matter how many years you've been in the field. And something else I think is important to note with what Dr. Kim said is that even with very successful people, they can be transplants into GIS. So even if you don't have a formal degree in GIS or geography, but you're now in that field, that doesn't mean that you don't have a chance of being successful or on the same level as native GIS people.
Oh, yeah.
And this is my other short
Hello,
video.
Coloradans and attendees of Gina's presentation. Gina asked me to talk about some stressors in GIS, especially for people who are just getting started. And I was just getting started 82 years ago. And the thing that I think of is, this is a previous job, we make maps and it's fun and it's this beautiful creative process and the stuff we make is practically magical. And so we want to share that. I wanted to share it online and I started to think, maybe I could write a blog and show these things to other people or, get a Twitter account and show people what I'm making. It's fun and it's exciting and I see what they're making and I want to participate. But I didn't because I was afraid. And it's not this person's fault. But at the time, there was somebody named Stephen Few. Is that the guy's name? Let me look it up. Stephen Few. Yeah, Stephen Few. He would show these cool data visualizations. And I was like, this guy, Stephen Few, is it, man. He knows everything there is to know. But sometimes he would point out where people screwed up in their data visualizations. And I was scared of that. I was afraid to share a map or a data viz and then have it called out for being wrong. And over the years, I've made plenty of things that were not great, that I could have done better. But that's the whole point of sharing and learning, getting advice and saying, hey, look at this. Eventually, I overcame that fear and just started sharing. I was like, if they make fun of me and tell me I did it wrong and I don't know what I'm doing, then so be it. I'll just delete my account and crawl into a cave. But I didn't. I just kept sharing things and people are super cool. They're a lot nicer and more accommodating and generous and loving than I thought they would be. People are good people. There's good people out there, especially in the mapping world. So my advice to you is if you feel like you've got something and you want to share it, go ahead and share it. It's made my career so much richer and fun. I wouldn't have the job I have now if I hadn't started just sharing the stuff that I was making and being inspired by other people who did that. It takes guts to share your work, and I really appreciate that people do that. And it's such a fun thing, this whole give and take. It's a wonderful community of making and nerding out on maps together. My advice is to go ahead and share your work and say, hey, what do you think about this? Look at this. I just made that. I was inspired by this person. That's it.
So if you can't recognize this person by how many times I've talked about him in this presentation, this is John Nelson, and we've never met in person. He has no idea who I am. We've only interacted a couple times on LinkedIn and through the cartography MOOC. So I really wanted him to have a part in this presentation, but I wasn't sure if he would do it because he doesn't know me and he's a very busy person. But I decided to reach out to him anyway, and he made this amazing video for me, which I really appreciate. So I think the overarching theme in this video is to, again, shoot your shot, because if I had not reached out to him, I wouldn't have learned this helpful information from him. And John wouldn't be where he is today if he didn't shoot his shot and start sharing his talent with the world.
Hello.
So to wrap it up, the equation that I found to become a GIS hero means that you have some sort of academic or professional experience to give you that baseline knowledge and skill set. And then you're engaging in external open source or subscription-based learning materials. You also have a GIS community, and you have a sense of exploration for GIS and geography. And I want to remind you that this equation isn't meant to be taken literally as a guarantee that this will solve all of your problems, but I really do hope that it provides a digestible way to know what opportunities are out there to become a better GIS professional. And another important thing to remember is that no matter how passionate you are in GIS or how many years you've been in the field, I think it's still possible to fall into a rut. So to get out of a rut, the most important thing to do is to explore. So learn something new through a MOOC or an Esri tutorial, find a new community, or create a new challenge and goal for yourself, because you need to explore to keep that passion for GIS alive. So thank you guys very much for listening to my presentation. I hope that was helpful. And if you'd like to contact me with any questions about the presentation or anything geography or GIS in general, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or my personal website.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gina. That was so good.
Thank you.
So I just want to give some last bit announcements so Gina talked a lot about community, and one community that we're we're with right now is GIS Colorado. So I want to extend my invitation to everybody and join the state's GIS Colorado group. We offer quarterly meetups that you do professional networking with peers. You are able to join the listserv and ask questions. We offer annual scholarships, map making contests, and being part of this community really keeps you up to date with the industry and the resources. Now, there's many free opportunities, but if you do want to engage into many more things, it is built upon our membership fees. It's reasonably priced at $50, and we're building the community one step at a time. Being a board member and the secretary, it's really going to be evolving this year. So I look forward to bringing more events. One event that I do want to focus on letting everyone know is the GIS Colorado Spring Meetup. It's happening on the 24th and 25th of April down at Otero College in La Junta. Now, this is going to be a different kind of meetup. We aren't going to have a quote unquote training session. It's only going to cost $35. On Thursday, you can take field trips to the Sand Creek Massacre, the Apache um, quarters, and Boggsville National Historic Sites. And it's going to be lots of fun. And then on the 25th, we're having our networking and presentations at the Otero College, and it's going to be some really good. We're trying to build this into being a virtual opportunity too, since La Junta is kind of far from us in the metro area. But don't quote me on that yet, because we're just working into getting that established. This is the map of where Otero College is and some of the pictures of our field trips. And I want to give a big, huge thank you to our sponsors. We have our platinum sponsors of HDR, very good corporation. Frontier Precision offers great connections. The Governor's Office of Information Technology, where we really work close with. And then we'll not forget Esri, because they're at the forefront of our group. And then we have Argis and Langen that are silver sponsors. And then our new bronze sponsor, the GIS Management Consulting Services. They're really helping us build our training. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And once again, thank you so much to Gina, who was able to branch out and help us do this. So thank you again. And everyone else, I look forward to meeting everyone in the community and have a beautiful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.